All right, hi guys. So today we're going to be reading Just Like Josh Gibson by Angela Johnson, illustrated by Beth Peck. So the genre of the story today is realistic fiction, which tells about made-up events that could happen in real life. So we're going to be looking for things that really could have happened to a little girl. All right, so the question of the week as you move about your activities this week should be, why are sports traditions important in our country? So as we read the book today, you're going to notice little captions around the pages, kind of modeling what questioning should look like when we're reading. So as I'm reading the story, I'm going to stop and I'm going to pause, and I'm going to look at those questions and just kind of talk through what active questioning looks like as you're reading to help you better understand the text. Okay, so I'm going to start the story. So before we even get started with reading, here's the little think about boxes that I was talking about. And the question here says, what do you already know about baseball? So sometimes before we read, it is good practice to kind of think about what we already know about a particular subject. So this story is going to be about baseball, so it would be best to kind of think about what are some things you already know about the sport. Okay. All right. So let's get started. Josh Gibson once hit a baseball in Pittsburgh so hard that it didn't come down. Grandmama says there's nothing like baseball. The story goes. The next day, he was playing in Philadelphia and the ball dropped out of the sky right into a fielder's glove. The umpire pointed to Josh and said, "You're out yesterday in Pittsburgh." So over here in this Let's Think About It box, it says, could the story of Josh Gibson's hit really have happened? All right, so I already know that this is probably, just a fable or a funny story about how well Josh Gibson was at hitting the ball, or how well he did. So we know for a fact that, a baseball cannot be hit so hard into the sky that it stays up there for days and days and then falls down, in another city days later. So we know that's probably just a funny story that just goes to show how well he hit the ball and how far he could hit a ball. Okay, so this type of questioning just, helps us be better readers when it comes to thinking about different language in a story and how there can sometimes be funny stories within a story. Okay, so let's keep reading. All right, so here we're going to be thinking about what is a Louisville Slugger. So look for clues in the pictures and in the story. So this helps me know that I'm probably going to be reading something that might have a part in it that I don't quite understand, but I can use the context around the story to help me understand what it might mean. All right, so let's keep reading. Grandma says her papa showed up on that same day, the day she was born, with a Louisville Slugger and a smile. He said his new baby would make baseballs fly, just like Josh Gibson. So Grandmama's papa threw balls to his baby girl in the early morning dew. Those summer days were like magic as the balls sailed away, gone. So I can tell by the picture and by the context around the word Louisville Slugger that it's probably a bat, right? Because he's practicing throwing balls and having her hit them. So I can almost assume that this Louisville Slugger is another term for a bat, okay? But girls in the 40s didn't play baseball. They weren't supposed to take the field with the boys or have batting dreams. So even when Grandmama got bigger, she still had to stand outside the fence and watch her cousin Danny and the Maple Grove All-Stars batting away. All right, so let's think about, why didn't Grandmama play baseball with her cousin Danny? All right, so we know that this story takes place in the olden times, and I can tell by the clothing that the boys are wearing and that the little girl is wearing. and then it says back in the 40s. All right, so back in those times, girls weren't allowed to play baseball at all, much less with the boys. So that is probably the reason why she wasn't able to play with her cousin Danny. All right, so again, this type of questioning are things that you can kind of be asking yourself as you read to help you gain a deeper understanding of the story. But every now and again, when the team was just practicing, they'd let Grandmama play too. Then Grandmama would step up to the plate, hit the ball, and watch it soar. Grandmama says Danny would imagine he was playing with the Dodgers, but she was always Josh Gibson, playing for the Grays, wearing the team colors and hitting away. Grandmama says she would play all day with everybody saying she could do it all, hit, throw, and fly around the bases. But too bad she's a girl. Too bad she's a girl. So in the let's think about it box, why do you think the boys say, too bad she's a girl? All right, so I can probably think that they're saying this because she's so good that they wish that she could play on the same team as them, but because it's back in this time, back in the 40s, she is not able to do so. So they are kind of disappointed, along with Grandmama, that, you know, she's a girl, because they were hoping that she's so good that she could play on their team. Okay, let's keep reading. Until 2 days, hot days after the 4th of July, Danny hurt his arm sliding into second, and there were only 8 All-Stars. That afternoon, the team looked to Grandmama, pink dress with a white bow and Danny's baseball shoes. And Grandmama says as she went to the plate, she remembered, baseball has always been early morning dew and sunlight, hitting balls with her papa and standing behind the fence watching the boys play. All right, so here it says, do you think Grandmama will get a hit? Why do you think so? All right, so clearly she was able to hit the ball, but if I were just to look at this picture and not have read the text, I mean, I could also see that she was able to do so because she's holding a bat, she's swinging. I can see this little boy here is kind of looking up, and so is she, and so is the umpire, which tells me she probably hit the ball pretty well. All right, because their eyes are kind of looking up in the direction of where a ball that was hit would probably be going. All right, so in this moment, how did baseball change for Grandmama? All right, so I know in the past she wasn't able to play in a real game. She wasn't able to play with the boys during a game. So this was her first real time actually playing with other people when it counted. So I'm sure that in this moment, baseball changed a lot for her, and she was, you know, really excited. All right, so what does the picture tell you about how Grandmama did? All right, so I can use the information without reading and without it being plainly stated that Grandmama did pretty well. I see that she's on the shoulders of the guys who are on the team. I see she's holding a ball up in the air, kind of in triumph. This boy here is jumping up and down, so it looks like everyone's pretty excited. Her parents are looking at her adoringly. Her cousin Danny with his, you know, hurt arm is looking at her like he's proud. So I'm pretty sure that she did very well. And the story goes, Grandmama hit the ball a mile that day, caught anything that was thrown, and did everything else, just like Josh Gibson. All right, so knowing how Grandmama played, what kind of player do you think Josh Gibson was? So other than that first little part in the story, they never really talked about the kind of player Josh Gibson was, but I'm assuming that he's a really good baseball player, and I can infer that by the fact that Grandmama is also really good, and she keeps kind of wanting to pretend that she is this particular player, Josh Gibson, who must be pretty good too, because if she wants to be just like him, and people are saying that she is like him, he must be pretty good because she is also very good. So I can infer that Josh Gibson was one of the best baseball players during that time. All right. As she hands the ball to me, she says, "There's nothing like baseball, baby, and I couldn't help but love it, especially that one time I got to hear the cheers, hear all the cheers while stealing home." All right, so in this box it says, Grandmama's papa taught her about baseball. How is she doing the same thing now? All right, so it looks like the tradition is kind of being passed down. So just as her papa taught her about baseball, now grandmama is teaching her granddaughter about baseball too. All right, so I'm even going to take it a step further, and I wonder, how will baseball be different for her granddaughter, seeing as now it's present day. You know, girls are able to play on the same teams as boys, they're able to play the same sports. So how might her granddaughter's experience with baseball be different from her own? Okay, so that's just a question that I would think about after I finish reading the story. Okay, so now I want you to go to the Thinking Critically section and look at all of the questions 1 through 5 here, and I want you to pick one that you would like to answer yourself. Remember, if it tells you to look back at a certain page in the text, you do that and use the evidence to help you answer your question. Even if it doesn't ask you to look back at a particular page, I still want you to use particular parts of the story to help support whatever answer that you give for the question that you choose. All right, guys, so I look forward to reading your responses and have a great day.